When gun violence happens, the conversation almost immediately goes to gun laws. More bans, more restrictions, more arguments. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Gun violence doesn't follow gun laws. It follows poverty. If gun laws were the primary driver, we'd expect violence to be evenly spread across states or cities with similar regulations. But that's not what we see. Instead, gun violence is highly concentrated, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, almost always in areas facing deep economic distress. Look at the data collected by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Gun deaths are not randomly distributed. They cluster in communities with high unemployment, low wages, failing schools, unstable housing, and limited access to mental health care. This isn't about culture, it's about morality. And it isn't about bad people. It's about desperation. When people lack legitimate paths to stability, jobs that pay, education that leads somewhere, and a failure that feels free, feels real, violence becomes more likely. Not because guns magically cause it, but because social order breaks down under sustained pressure. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has long shown that violent crime rates in areas with concentrated poverty. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has long shown that violent crime rises in areas with concentrated poverty. Not gun control, concentrated poverty. This includes gun crimes, but also assaults, robberies, and homicides that don't involve firearms. Guns don't create desperation. They become tools inside it. Here's something rarely discussed. America has always had guns. For decades, when gun laws were far looser than today, violent crimes were significantly lower than it became during periods of mass disindustrialization and urban collapse. What changes wasn't guns, what changed was opportunity. Factories closed, vanished, wages stagnated, neighborhoods were stripped of investment, social institutions weakened, and violence rose. You can see this clearly when comparing wealthy areas and poor ones within the same city. They follow the same gun laws, yet violence is worlds apart. That alone should tell us something. Research from Brookings Institution shows strong correlations between income inadequacy, neighborhood segregation, and violent crimes. When people feel trapped financially, socially, and geographically, conflicts escalate faster and end worse. Gun laws often serve as a political shortcut. They're visible, they're easy to campaign on, and they give the impression of action. But they don't rebuild communities. They don't create jobs. They don't fix broken schools. And they don't restore hope. That's why sweeping gun legislation frequently produces disappointing results. It treats the symptom, not the disease. This doesn't mean violence is inevitable. It means solutions must This doesn't mean violence is inevitable. It means solutions must match reality. Violence drops when neighborhoods stabilize, when employment rises, when young people see a future worth protecting. Programs that reduce poverty, expand education, support mental health, and rebuild local economies consistently show stronger, longer-lasting reductions in violence, all violence, than legislation alone. If the goal is fewer victims, then honesty matters. Gun violence is not primarily a legal failure. It is an economic one. Until we address poverty and depression, directly. We'll keep arguing about tools instead of causes, and the cycle will continue. So let's work this out and remember Scott for 2028.